Hello, everyone. Welcome to the program. I'm Johannesburg here in Lagos. We begin in South Africa, where more than half of the victims from last month's fire at a hijacked apartment block in Johannesburg are still unidentified. According to the spokesperson of Gauteng Department of Health, Motalele Modiba, a total of 77 bodies were recovered from the fire, and 44 of them have still not been identified. Mr. Modiba noted that 18 more victims, in addition to the initial 12, have been identified through forensic digital analysis and examinations by family members. However, he indicated that DNA analyses are still ongoing to help uncover the identities of the remaining victims. And authorities in Mali have cancelled flights from the country's capital, Bamako, to the northern cities of Timbuktu and Gao, citing insecurity. It comes after several shells landed near Timbuktu airport yesterday, where a United Nations camp was destroyed, which forced Malian authorities to impose a 30-day curfew in the city. The city has been under a blockade for the past month after Islamist militants cut off road and river routes. Both Timbuktu and Gao have also seen fighting between the army and predominantly Tuareg rebels. And we're now going to talk to politics, where all eyes on the Zimbabwe's president Emerson Mnangagwa, with some even accusing him of nepotism following his controversial re-election last month. This all comes after Mr. Mnangagwa appointed his son David Kodanwashe as deputy finance minister and his nephew Tongai Mnangagwa as the deputy tourism minister. The main opposition party, Citizen Coalition for Change, termed the ministerial lineup as indefensible and accused Mr. Mnangagwa of stoking nepotism. However, there has been no official reaction from the ruling party or presidency over the accusation, but social media users have expressed disappointment following the appointments. And the UN Children's Fund is warning that the Democratic Republic of Congo has the world's highest number of children being raped and killed on a daily basis. Grant Laity, UNICEF's representative in the DRC, says violence against children in the eastern region has reached unprecedented levels. Speaking at the United Nations in Geneva, he said that there are few worse places, if any, to be a child. The country has the world's highest number of unverified grave violations against children in armed conflict, and these numbers present only the tip of the iceberg. And to the conflict in Sudan now, where over 400,000 people have fled the war-torn country and crossed into Chad. The United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, Filippo Grandi, during a 4-day visit to Chad, is pushing for further international support to cater for those displaced due to the prolonged war. Meanwhile, Sudan's military leader, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, has visited Eritrea's capital Asmara for an official meeting with President Isaias Afwerki. According to an official statement, the two leaders would discuss bilateral issues, the situation in Sudan, and matters of mutual interest, but did not give any more details. Eritrea is the fourth country that General Burhan has visited since Sudan descended into conflict in April this year. Early this month, he ordered the reopening of Sudan's border crossings with Eritrea, a move he said would facilitate trade and movement of people between the two countries. To maritime security, navies of Benin, Togo, and Nigeria have flagged off an operation called Safe Domain 2 with the theme enhancing maritime security through collaboration for regional prosperity. According to the director of the Multinational Maritime Coordination Center, Zone E, Commodore Anyedi Ibok, this operation is an aspect of an MOU signed in 2014 to enable the navies fight criminal elements without any border restrictions.
This signals the flag up and launch of Operation Safe Domain 2 in the Republic of Benin. The operation is to give bite to the implementation of the MOU on joint maritime operations and patrols agreed upon by the chiefs of naval staff of Benin, Nigeria, Niger, and Togo, all member countries of Zone E of the Multinational Maritime Coordination Center.
The objectives of the patrols and joint operations are to pool resources of the state parties, make the maritime resources interoperable, evaluate the standard operational procedures, operationalize the right of hot pursuit as defined by the rules of engagement and multilateral and bilateral memoranda, then secure the maritime area of the Maritime Zone E.
Through this operation, the safety and security of the maritime domain of these countries are expected to be strengthened towards curbing illicit maritime activities, including piracy and sea robbery.
If a country like somebody commits an offense, we find a pirate ship in Nigerian waters and they run, once they cross into Benin water, if we don't have agreement with Benin, we cannot pursue them into that water. So that is the essence of this continuous practice together, this collaboration that we have.
The strategy adopted includes research and exchange of information, maritime and air surveillance, and intervention of the operational units in case of necessity.
The more we operate together, the more we're familiar with our operating procedures, and the more we see ourselves as comrades. And at the end of this exercise, all the navies should be better equipped to operate together. The waters of the Gulf of Guinea generally and Maritime Zone E specifically should be safer for those doing legitimate business and should be more hostile for those who want to carry out nefarious activities within our waters.
The collaborative efforts by navies of different countries is one of the many channels of effectively manning the 2.35 million square kilometers vast Gulf of Guinea, which cuts across 16 coastal countries. The successes recorded here will no doubt form the bedrock for future operations. Chris Elems, Channels Television News.
And rescuers are racing against time to find survivors as the death toll from Morocco's deadliest earthquake in more than 6 decades rose to more than 2,800. Rescue teams and search dogs have been picking through rubble in the rural town of Talat Yacoub, east of the epicenter of Friday's devastating earthquake. Updates on the flooding in Libya now. Over 2,000 people have been killed after Tropical Storm Daniels made landfall in the eastern part of the country on Sunday. Authorities say some 10,000 others are feared missing in a deadly disaster that has damaged roads, cars, houses, and even dams. Countries such as Turkey, Iran, and Italy have stepped up efforts to send aid to the country following the massive flooding.
It's been a devastating couple of days in Libya as deadly storm winds and heavy rainfall flooded in the country's eastern region. Tropical Storm Daniel swept over the Mediterranean on Sunday, destroying roads and houses. Overturned cars and damaged roads were seen after massive floods ripped through the city of Derna. The head of Libya's eastern government, Osama Hamad, said more than 2,000 people had died in the coastal city of Derna and around 10,000 people missing. Meanwhile, satellite images show 2 Libyan dams on the river that flows through the eastern city of Derna before the burst, causing the flooding that has wiped out around a quarter of the city. Shortly after the Libyan Presidential Council's call for international help, Turkey announced it's sending 3 aircraft to transport a rescue team and humanitarian aid to the country following the deadly floods. Similarly, medical aid arrives at the country's Al Abrak airport after the disaster. Storm Daniel wreaked havoc in Greece, Turkey, and Bulgaria last week, killing at least 26 people in the three countries. According to the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, the last instance of large-scale flooding in Libya was in 2019, when 4 people died in the southwest of the country. While officials say rescue efforts are currently underway in the flood-hit areas, is also warning that the death toll is likely to increase.
Earlier, we reported that rescuers are racing against time to find survivors as the death toll from Morocco's deadliest earthquake in more than 6 decades rose to more than 2,800. As of yesterday, it was 2,500. Rescue teams and search dogs have been picking through rubble in the rural town of Talat Yakub, east of the epicenter of Friday's devastating earthquake. Many countries have been joining the search efforts and also, of course, bringing in aid to help the victims of the earthquake, families devastated. Let's check now for that. More on that is Dr. Chukwudi Njoku, who is a geographer and an environmentalist, joins us on the program. Good to have you today.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
Right. So first, what was your initial reaction when the news of the earthquake broke out in Morocco?
Thank you. The pictures from the devastation in Morocco, they were quite sad to see. The level of devastation is quite extreme, similar to what we saw in Turkey as well as in Syria in February. Apparently, the earthquake caught the country unaware, and this is mostly the case with earthquakes, especially where they are not frequent or where they are not expected. The situation has apparently left the country with, and the residents with gory experiences and very sad tales.
And this earthquake is considered to be the deadliest in 60 years. Help us understand what could trigger the 6.8 magnitude tremor. After all, this year's, many might draw similarities to the quake in Turkey and Syria in February.
You can explain this with science. According to the principle of uniformitarianism, the present is the key to the past, and the past is as well the key to providing answers to some of the things that happen in the present. Morocco has a history of earthquakes, even though it is not rampant and frequent. But then the fact is, if it has happened in the past, then it definitely would happen again. It is not exactly sure what would have triggered the current incident in Morocco, but generally earthquakes are caused when the earth crust shifts around tectonic plates. Now, these tectonic plates are like massive slabs of rocks that make up the Earth's lithosphere. That is the subsurface of the Earth as well as the upper mantle of the Earth. These plates have boundaries, and when these boundaries shift, earthquakes happen, and this leads to the kind of massive destruction that we are seeing in Morocco and like what we saw in Turkey and Syria. The earthquakes occur because the tectonic plates at some parts of the world are quite unstable. We have Turkey, Syria, as well as Morocco. They share similar tectonic plates. That is the African and the Eurasian tectonic plates, and they are in a similar area. So what it goes to show is that countries around these areas must begin to take very drastic early warning action, considering the reoccurrence of earthquakes around these tectonic plates.
With over 2,800 killed already, and authorities saying that people are at risk of diseases and infections, what could contribute to this, and how bad can the situation get?
Yeah, so we hope it doesn't get, worse than it currently.
Oh, seem to have lost connection with him there. Let's just move on quickly. That was Dr. Chukwudi Njoku, who is a geographer and an environmentalist. All right, so the connection is back. I was asking you, about the risk of diseases in this situation in Morocco, because people are actually, a lot of people don't have homes that they're living in anymore.
Yes, so the risks are there, and this is because of the post-earthquake impact. And this is majorly due to the fact that most of the areas got cut off by the earthquake. It was difficult for emergency and relief services, to immediately get to lots of communities. And the earthquake impacted majorly local communities, that is rural communities that do not have very good structures that can withstand these earthquakes. Other things have influenced the higher impacts that we're seeing in Morocco today, such as lack of early warning, as well as the inefficiency of emergency services, mostly due to the fact that most of the major roads got cut off, because we can see lots of actions by both the Moroccan government as well as other countries, in trying to see how they can reduce the impacts of this earthquake. But then they are really struggling with assessing some of these communities, especially the local communities around the epicenter of the earthquakes.
And away from Morocco, Libya, another country in the north, is grappling with deadly flooding that has left over 2,000 people killed and 10,000 others missing. Is Africa on the verge of a climate crisis? What do you make of this?
The situation in Libya is also another very sad one, just like what we're seeing in Morocco. Storm Daniel hit Libya just a week after floods ravaged communities in neighboring Greece, even though we had very lower fatalities in Greece. But apparently Libya was not prepared for the floods, and that's majorly because it's unprecedented. In about a century, Libya, as well as other North African countries, have not had this scale of flooding before. So it's kind of it's unusual to them. And for a country that does not get that amount of rainfall, that volume of rain that they got just within a very short period definitely meant disaster. Of course, Africa, but not just Africa, the rest of the world as well, are experiencing a climate crisis. But then the impact is usually worse in Africa because of our lower levels of adaptation and resilience.
And finally, let's bring this home. The Nigerian Meteorological Agency has predicted severe thunderstorms in some parts of the country. I experienced a little bit of that yesterday. Is Nigeria exempted from, these extreme weather conditions?
Well, no country is really exempted from extreme weather conditions, all over the world. We saw the forest fires that happened just recently in Canada and the kind of devastation it left behind, as well as the current climate issues in the US. No country is really exempted. So Nigeria is also not exempted from these extreme climate issues. But for us, it's majorly around flooding. We also have issues of windstorms, especially in the north. But I must commend the Nigerian Meteorological Agency. They've been doing a whole lot of work around early warning. But we'll just hope that structures are already in place to minimize the impact when the floodwaters come. And we hope that it is not as disastrous as we had last year, as well as in 2012. For most of the years in Nigeria, flooding is usually not as serious and somehow minimal compared to what we see from time to time. So we're hoping that this time it's not so serious, and maybe we will be exempted from very extreme weather events.
Thank you, Dr. Chukwudi Njoku, a geographer and an environmentalist. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
Ethiopia says it has completed the fourth and final phase of filling a reservoir for its planned massive hydroelectric power plant on the Blue Nile, a project that Egypt and Sudan have long opposed. Construction of the $4 billion Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam began in 2011, which Ethiopia sees as crucial to powering its economic development. Egypt and Sudan, however, consider the project a serious threat to their vital water supplies. With a projected capacity of more than 6,000 megawatts, Ethiopia sees the project as the centerpiece of its bid to become Africa's biggest power exporter. And finally on the program, Nigerian student Oluyemi and his team, Oluyemi Shopade and his team, have emerged victorious in the annual Kids Innovation Challenge hosted by Destiny Trust. The team, all students at a local technical college, built an adjourned smart compost system capable of transforming food waste into manure.
As Nigeria grapples with significant food shortages, the team believes the innovation could have profound implications. Team member Uchendu David explains that their system enables farmers to convert waste into manure efficiently.
Our project is an Arduino-based smart compost system. It was fabricated with a grinding and a mixing machine. What this project does is that it gets organic waste like our foods, our wasted foods, grass, spoiled yam, all sort of wasted foods, depending on the type. And then it can be able to turn this wasted food into compost manure. It can be able to turn it by itself, automated. So you have to just put in little or no effort in monitoring it.
And now we have met the contestants.
Destiny Trust organizes the Innovation Challenge through its Kids Innovation Hub, an initiative teaching coding and robotics to children to bridge the digital gap and provide employment in tech companies. This year's challenge saw a wide range of entries, including a baby watch system and a platform to assist farmers in moving goods from farm to customer. Co-founder of the Destiny Trust, Abimbola Ojenike, says it's important to get children schooled in ethical practices at a time when unethical use of technology is rampant.
We have that choice today to give every child that opportunity to use technology ethically, to tell them this is the way to go, this is how it can improve the society. And when we fail to do that, one way or the other, somebody is going to teach them another use of technology, and that's the one that becomes a problem to everyone, to the industry, to the tech industry especially. We're talking about the activities of hackers, scammers, cyber attackers of all kinds.
The event was very inspiring because when I was like 16, 17, what they presented today, I couldn't have ever thought of building something like that or presenting it. So it gives me, this kind of program and event gives me hope that, that the new generation, that they're all going into tech and like getting the children involved in technology is going to really improve the state of our nation.
The team in first place receives a prize of 200,000 naira and a HP laptop. The runner-up and third place winners receive 150,000 and 100,000 naira respectively, along with a HP laptop each. After receiving the award, Oluyemi Shokpade expresses his gratitude and determination.
This is an encouragement for us as Kingdom Tech. I will work towards more projects because of this amazing. Like we are happy about it.
The Kids Innovation Hub has trained almost 700 children in various tech skills since it opened its doors in 2018, fostering a space for innovative ideas to flourish and contribute positively to Nigeria's tech sector and the nation as a whole.
That's Network Africa. Thank you for watching. I'm Joker Rogers. Bye for now.